Okay, that was strange. Excuse me. All right, so I wanted to talk about stuff women can do to make ourselves a bit safer. Anybody who knows anything about me knows about the difficulties I've had in um, basically dealing with situations of having to reject guys and then dealing with blowback from it. Um, and I understand that men have issues, and I understand that there are issues of hypergamy and all of that. I'm happy to talk about that. If anybody wants to contact me, maybe I'll try and talk about a video of a woman's perspective on that. But I'm not a guy, I'm a woman, and I feel I have a right to decide who I want to have sex with, or reproduce with, or spend my time with, and all the rest. So, and in honor of that particular idea, I want to talk to women about some stuff I've seen that works. It may seem a little bit extreme, but I'm also seeing the extreme of the opposite of it. And one of the things that I think is really effective is creating female-only spaces. Here where I live, most of the places you go in public, they have unisex open toilets. And by that I mean open, there'll be 4 bathroom stalls, 4 toilet stalls in one room, shared sink, and they're all open at the bottom. You can see around the edges, just like, if you're a woman, you go into the woman's toilet, you can kind of see what's going on underneath, above or whatever. And that's how the library is. And it's men, women, everybody expected to share the same toilet. If your daughter goes to the library alone, she goes in there and she uses the toilet with whatever grown men are in the library. So if your kid goes to the library after school by themselves, whatever. Public toilets here, same thing. And I've been harassed here in a public toilet by a man who I had to urinate next to. So it's possible. It happens. They have security guards around somewhere usually, but they can't stop somebody from talking to you in the bathroom. So it is what it is. And there's such kind of an anger in a lot of men and I really think this has to do with a lot of other stuff where we're seeing penetration into women's spaces and what was traditionally women's stuff. There are a lot of men that just don't want women to have that stuff. They don't want there to be anywhere that a woman can go and get away from them. Point blank. Why should you be able to? Traditionally speaking, I don't know of a lot of women who were desperate to get into the men's room, or desperate to get into the men's locker room, or desperate to go and compete against men in a sport. Generally, it would mean you were at a disadvantage in different ways. But I have lived in Turkey, and I taught in a school in Turkey that was quite conservative, and everything was gender segregated for the teachers. The kids up to the age of 9 were in classes together, and then I think things can change or whatever. But for the teachers, the teachers' lounge was all women. Then there was a men's teachers' lounge. Actually, I never saw any male teachers, to tell you the truth. But there were no men allowed into our lounge area. Guys would come into the classroom to fix stuff. But for the whole, they had a problem in Turkey. I was in Istanbul. They had a problem in Turkey with women being groped, felt up, sexual assaults on buses. So they created, and I had that, actually. I got groped on a bus once. So they created pink buses that are for women only. And guess what? If you ride the pink buses, you're okay. So, I'm not saying you gross get all these horrible men away, but I am saying, the living situation I've been in here, living around men, there are a lot of guys out there. There are a lot of lonely people out there. There are a lot of, I don't want to say desperate, but kind of involuntarily not involved in a relationship. And if you are a female, and you happen to be around, and you're not attached to anyone, and they're seeing you every day, and, but you're not giving them the time of day, and I've literally had this said to me, well, why not me? What's wrong with me? And now you're literally in a position where you've got to sit there and kind of explain to this person who can't just take no for an answer and move along. So, needless to say, that can create some backlash, which can become very unpleasant. So my life, and the destruction thereof, to some extent, has kind of become an ode to that. And I think that the idea of female spaces is a good thing. And that's not to say just to kick men out of life. No, you still hang out with guys. If there were guys in my building who spoke English that I had stuff in common with, their common interests or whatever. There's one guy here actually that I did try to talk to a couple of times when there's a communal kitchen area, and I tried to chat with him, and didn't go so well because he wanted to show solidarity. But that's not to say kick men out of life, but that is to say that that is a functional way for women to be safe. Also, government support. It's super, super important that governments support women in obtaining a safe space, a room of one's own, to quote Virginia Woolf, a space where a woman can go and be safe, and regardless of income level, because I can assure you, if the wrong men or the wrong people have a problem with you, you can be kept out of employment. If having you around becomes too big a problem with enough people, folks will find a way to get rid of you. I've had it done repeatedly. Many places. If enough people just don't like you, if the wrong kind of stink gets on you, if you get accused of any of the isms, whether you're guilty of it or not, having you around can become enough of a liability. As a woman, when that happens to you, you still have some value. You better believe it. If you can't find a place to live, you can't find a place to stay, if you can't find employment because you've been labeled as something unacceptable, whether it's now it's even over vaccination, apparently. Are you an anti-vaxxer? Are you a racist? Are you a thisist? Are you a thatist? Are you a whateverist? It can affect everything. It can affect whether or not you get proper medical care. I've had that done too. So, at the very least, women can become a commodity. It's an easy way to end up getting trapped into or thrown into a sex trafficking situation if there's no safe place for you to go and stay, regardless of income. And don't think that homeless shelters are necessarily safe places to stay, because it depends on the staff and how well they keep the vibe and the energy and what they're willing to tolerate in the way of behavior. And don't think that what starts in those places can't be carried out into the street. So you've got to keep that on, in mind as well. You end up in some of these places, you get a problem with somebody decides you looked at them the wrong way, or they got a problem with you. Don't make that stuff follow you out on the street. And a lot of those folks got nothing but time and a lot of connections on the street because that's where they're from. So that's not exactly the type of social housing supporting I think is appropriate for women. Like something along the lines of domestic violence shelters and support and protection, but to some level provided for all women who end up in a situation where, for whatever reason, they've got to pick up and bolt. Because a woman left out on her own is just, During my more naive times, about 10 years ago, and you would think but no, it was a little bit longer than that. Yeah, it's about maybe, 15 years ago now. I was just over about 30, taking the bus across the U.S., trying to get to somewhere safer, trying to get to somewhere I thought I might want to be, and I decided to try Seattle. Kurt Cobain, grunge music, I want to be a musician. I get there, I stay at a hostel for a couple days, get some harassment there, and I go to the bus station. I'm about to get on the bus, and I don't really know where to go or what to do, but I know that I've gone by the local homeless shelter, and it was terrifying. Terrifying. The level of intimidation and hostility and just the vibe. And again, this is from the staff, just tolerating whatever, and whatever's cool, just letting people act whatever kind of way. So I'm sitting at the bus station, and this guy comes along, and he's like, oh, hey, yeah, whatever. We started talking. I ended up, trying to chat to him, and was making an extra effort to chat to him because I wanted him to be comfortable with me. Because I didn't want to be seen as racist. And we're chatting and we're talking, and he's like, why don't you come hang out with me, hang out at my place, you can stay at my place overnight, see if you can get some social services or something, or, in the way of housing. And I was like, oh, that's really nice. And so I go back with him to his apartment, and a woman sees him walking up, and she's like, hey, what are you doing? And I kind of see her address him, and I'm like, so this woman she knows something about him that I probably would be wanting to pay attention to. But I go up anyway, and within about 30 minutes he starts telling me what the rules are going to be for me to stay there and how there's going to have to be sexual favors done. And I was like, clearly we've misunderstood each other. And I took my bags and left. And I ended up going and getting on the bus, buying the ticket, getting on the bus, and going clear back across the country to Washington, D.C. to attempt to talk to people in the Hart Senate building who wanted to hear nothing of my problems as a U.S. citizen. So, no, as a woman, if you don't have family support, if you don't have friend support, and a lot of your friends, if you get into a situation like that where you got problems with the wrong people, or the wrong people have problems with you, they will run for the hills. You can end up very, very vulnerable. And that's what I want to see prevented from women. And that means safe spaces for women. And and I'm happy for that to happen for men and young boys too. There are situations where they get exploited as well, and I would be for them having their own safe spaces where they can go and deal with the kinds of issues, because somewhere between 1 in 3 and 1 in 4 girls by the age of 18 experience sexual abuse of some kind. For boys, it's 1 in 6. Well, yes, it's less, but it still happens. And for them, there can often be kind of an extra kind of shame associated with that, because usually it's by a man, and it's male-male, so there's the added social stigma of homosexuality and that shame thrown on top. And so that's a different situation that they probably need their own space to deal with. So, I'm for everyone having as much support as they need, within reason, as much as can be provided from other people within a reasonable situation, for whatever it is that's making them particularly vulnerable. And so that's my hope. That's my hope that something can be done to prevent what's happened to me ever happening to anyone else. I follow a lot of what I consider to be strong, empowered women on social media who have often succeeded in their field. I find it inspirational, and I started becoming aware. I meditated this morning, and then I started scrolling through my social media. And I became aware immediately of this feeling of I would look at these pictures of these women, happy, smiling, attractive, vivacious, and I got this, I became aware of a feeling. I've had the feeling forever. I always kind of tried to shove it into my subconscious mind, but I let myself recognize it today, and I know what it is. It's fear. Because I know what it is to be happy and smiley and walk out in public feeling like you're safe and confident and happy, and have a bright future ahead of you and wanting to thrive, and having the wrong person just decide, I think you're not humble enough, or I think you think you're better than me, or I think you think too much of yourself, and I know that's a real thing, and that becomes particularly pointed with people, of course, when you've rejected them, if they don't know how to take rejection properly. So, yeah. And there are women who ended up in far worse situations than me. There was one girl in Detroit who directly got shot in the face for refusing to give a guy her phone number. Pretty girl. Happy. Vivacious in the picture. So, yeah, and I really would love to see women support women in this. We've got a lot of women out here, the Oprah Winfrey's and the Beyoncé's, and all sorts of different walks of life who could come together and help support women, and especially in major cities, everywhere, to deal with stuff like this. So, governments, definitely. If the government isn't looking into this as an honest issue, and they're not dealing realistically with a sex trafficking issue that exists globally, I can assure you. And I've had attempted sex trafficking follow me from country to country, because social media is everywhere. So all it takes is connecting with somebody on social media and saying, hey, this one so-and-so getting on a bus, headed this place. And I've had that. Been followed by gang members on buses, trying to go across the country to get help. So these are real things that women face, that whether they know about these things or not are out there. I did not know about these things, and then got myself a good taste of the real world. And I would like to prevent that from happening to other women and young girls. So that's my hope. People in leadership out there will hear this and understand that there are special needs for vulnerable women, and special needs for vulnerable young men as well, as I said. So consider us. Now that COVID's going to go away, hopefully, things are going to get better, and we're going to start trying to thrive rather than just survive again. Maybe this could be part of the new agenda. Here's hoping.